I knew I wanted to get tattooed at 14. That's probably where it started, but I wasn't gonna be a tattoo artist until I was like a sophomore in college. I was like a psych major and looking through all like the jobs in the field, I was like, damn, these are all like just sad. Like I don't want to have sad days all the time. Like, geez. So then I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I'll be an artist, but I don't want to be up in a tower just painting all day by myself. Like that would also be lame. So I was like, how about I'll be an artist if I could be a tattoo artist. So then I switched my major, did art, and all my professors were like pretty dope about it. Like they were down to let me do my assignments, but do them for tattoos and research tattoos and like so I got to make my college experience helpful for tattooing, I think.
Kind of an add-on question to like being stuck in a tower and boring like artist. Was there any piece of it that was like kind of looked at the stereotypes of artists just being poor as shit and like no real viable income there?
See, that was a big point for me was that I was not. I was really good at selling shit. Didn't
Mm-hmm.
really mind letting go of it, putting a
Mm-hmm.
price tag on it and moving it out the door. So that really it was more so that like I wanted a job that was around people. So it
Gotcha.
wasn't like a
Nice.
financial scared of art type of thing.
When I was in college, like I've been told my entire high school career and college career by professors that like I needed to pursue a career in writing because I had something there. And I remember just like never even really considering it just because it's like my only my only like imaginative view of a writer was like a newspaper article writer, right? So like and just like what that looked like as far as my knowledge as a 19-year-old kid. And I'm like, no way, right? Because there's just no I remember being very, very like narrow minded about the potential like financial end of that. And so that's why I asked that.
And it's a fair question. I feel like that's specifically true for most artists in any field of any art that they struggle with the turning it into money, but
Yeah, and there's a thing where I don't think you necessarily gain like the broader vision of like the different avenues there or the different ways that can look until you are like older and have some real
hmm
world experience. Like, well, there have been a lot of
yeah.
ways I could have written that didn't just involve me sitting like in a cubicle writing for some newspaper,
Yeah.
right? But at 19, like that's just what my mind turned it into. So,
Right. Yeah. Okay, so I switched my major, got to like learn about tattoos all throughout college, and my plan was always to go for it whenever it like arose. Like if I was offered a tattoo apprenticeship, school would become second priority like that. So I went around, gave my portfolio to like a whole bunch of shops and stuff and like talked to everybody. And I walked away from like each one of those interactions with like a couple helpful tips, but there's no exact route to finding a mentor. So it's just like I spent a lot of years trying different ways. My sleeve, for example, was just one method of getting in front of a tattoo artist for 30 hours. Just like asked him all my questions. We talked the whole time about tattoos and stuff. And that was pretty fun, but he wasn't taking on apprenticeships at the time, which was I was fine with. I was like, I got my knowledge, I got my money's worth. Pretty happy. Um, and so like a couple good, useful steps along the way, but none of them really panned out. Um, Close to graduation, I was just gonna try again, pack up my portfolio, take it around, but then when COVID hit and social media engagement started just skyrocketing, I started making videos and stuff, and I was getting enough clients to kind of keep me busy, keep me happy. I was designing tattoos and doing a whole bunch of paintings and stuff. So that pretty much became a full-time job, and I was like, this is something I never expected to happen. I did not think I could skip right to like doing independent art. That was just, that blew my mind. So that was a rush, and we just have been on that ever since. I think it was March, connected with my now mentor, Taylor. And it was just like a total vibe when we met. I contacted her to get some feedback on my designs that I was doing. And I was like, yeah, dude, I'll pay you for a session or whatever. She's like, no, don't worry about it. Talked for a little bit, talked about all my designs, and she was like, hey, do you want to learn how to tattoo? I was like, yes, fuck
So
yes.
your art was all through different mediums up until that point. You hadn't like really necessarily ran a tattoo needle or anything.
No, yeah, no. I was
Oh
just
wow.
doing designs and paintings, yeah. And like consults for people, like brainstorming and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, like a off the skin version of a tattoo or something,
Yeah,
concepts and that kind of thing. Okay.
do like a large. I made them like into fine art paintings. I was like, or drawings. I was like, I feel like these should be framed. They're
Hmm.
quality enough to be framed and be like a, a step of the process of eventually getting a tattoo. I feel like it'd be cool to like have a sleeve and then have a drawing of where it started because I was like, it's gonna change, once you put it on your body, it might move based on your muscles, whatever. So I think it's
Right.
just cool to like document that process too.
That's
So that's
really,
kind of how I
really
sold
cool.
those and how I
Hmm.
do sell those, I guess. I still do that.
Awesome. That's cool. So anyway, you're with Taylor.
Hmm. We're located in a beauty parlor. So it's very much like we got a permanent makeup girl down the hall, nails, hair, massages, facials. Like it's a vibe for sure, but we are the two tattoo artists there. Hmm. Um, it's definitely like it made the previous things that I had heard about being an apprentice make more sense, like all of the tips and stuff, because like they would talk about the time commitment, and that was the reason why a lot of the artists that I reached out to previously like couldn't they just couldn't meet me as much as I could meet them as far as like the time commitment thing. So it's pretty dope that we're independent because we can be very flexible. Uh, she lives in Tennessee, so we tattoo 10 days a week or 10 days a month, and then we're just digital for the rest of it. So it's very flexible.
So like big time investment, I would imagine from, well, both of your perspectives, but certainly hers. And I can kind of
Hmm.
understand that because it does like it's, I think that's a factor of just probably not so much the physical, like the business end of tattooing or the tattooing itself. It's just like it's a function of relationships, right? Like they just take a lot of energy and for you both to,
Hmm.
for this to be an investment and not just like time wasted, like there is a relationship
Yeah.
aspect of it. And so I think probably you're doing it right, but that's pretty sweet.
She's definitely doing a good mentorship program. She's not like, have you heard like the old stuff about like old apprenticeships, how they were like brutal? I don't know if that's common
Yeah.
knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But she's
Mm-hmm.
very kind about it. She wants to do it like the good way, so she's not like charging me for it like some people do or anything like that. It's not I don't have to get her coffee, you know.
Right. There's no like initiation period.
Yeah, but it's totally like just based on trust and like word and just like, yeah, I'll stay here. I'll make you some money if I can for years to come, but like she's definitely doing her half of the investing in the relationship
Mm-hmm.
right now. So,
That's awesome. What a thing! What a place to have landed at for you. So how did your road cross hers? Like were you guys acquaintances before, or how did that come about?
she tattooed my boyfriend when he was 18, like 9 years ago. That's it, pretty much. He posted a picture of me holding a painting, and she's so nice. She commented, she's like, "Oh, she's amazing." And that's when I reached out to her to ask for some feedback on my work.
Hmm. That's cool. I've spent a fair amount of time kind of wrestling the double edged sword that is technology and social media and stuff. Because I've built friendships or relationships that have been 100% social media based, like just people that are interested in the same types of things or that are doing the kind of in the same space. And like it makes the world a lot smaller for sure. And there's a lot of
Mhm.
benefit to it, connections wise and networking and friendships. But then there's the other side of it that is, we all become so plugged into it, and it kind of, as much as it can connect humans, like it also can dehumanize us quite a lot. And it's
Mhm.
definitely like this never ending balance, It's interesting. It's an interesting concept.
Yeah, I think about it a lot. I definitely, I mean, that's one of those things you couldn't have foreseen when you were younger that like, okay, you want to be an artist, you also have to make content. Like
Right.
I don't even know if you
Yeah.
could do it
Just,
without social media these days. Like with the competition all on social media, it's like get with it.
yeah, certainly not. Certainly it would not be possible today, like just like you said.
Hmm.
And realistically, like just in and of itself, like what a wonderful way. Like if your art was hanging in an exhibit in some studio somewhere, like 7 people came and looked at my stuff this week. Where now with social
Right.
media and digital, like is just the sky's the limit. Like it's pretty incredible for the art sector and space.
Hmm.
Um, cool. Well, so Handlebend, pretty similar story. Like just as far as kind of I hate the term organic, but the organic nature of it. Like we just were. It started out like I just built a mug in college, like for my own personal use, like to carry to parties, and
Right.
like looking
Yeah.
back, that chipper like 20-year-old kid, like it was kind of a flex, right? Like I built my own mug that I get a party out of.
Right. It's like a party trick. Honestly, that's what drawing was
Yeah, there
too.
you
It
go.
was just like, I could draw.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, and then we just built them as we needed. Like we would, when we kind of got out of college, we would just build sets for friends for their weddings. And then we really didn't build any more mugs than we needed to. And it just kind of, the number of mugs we needed to build just kept growing and growing until we eventually launched a business. Had no clue what we were doing. Spent like $1,000 on a website, and we are like, oh my God, like there's no way this is gonna work. And we
Yeah.
did it, and it just kept growing and growing and growing, really without a whole lot of try. Like all we really tried to
Right.
ever do was just figure out better ways to do things and problem solve and
Hmm.
and kind of host or curate this experience for what would become our customers, to make it like just better and better, and kind of about them. And um, I've thought a lot about that in the last. We've been doing this for 5 years officially, and I think that a lot of our quote unquote success is probably attributed to that. Like we just haven't run this thing like we necessarily need it.
Yeah.
We've just been doing it because we enjoy it and it's fun, and we're just consistently, because of that, like it's not a job. We just have no problem to dive in and try to problem solve and make the whole thing
Hmm.
better for ourselves and customers and clients. And now we find ourselves with this team of pretty awesome human beings, and just make things better for them, and like work together to make things better for all involved. And I think that's kind of the foundational beliefs of probably some of the best stuff out there, is just doing it
Yeah.
because, I mean, it seems cliche, but you really like it.
Yeah.
Kind of the old, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, which is
Hmm.
extremely corny, but it's
Wow.
it's for real.
It's the way of the craftsman.
There you go, us artisans.
Yes. Making pretty things. Hmm.
That's right. That's right. Hand built.
Yeah.
Yeah. So along with that, like one of the biggest things that we realized early on was we were just getting all this feedback. We'd have friends in the city, um, outside of Nebraska, that had these mugs, and they would tell us that they had a big gathering like on a Saturday night, and they went and got all the ingredients and had like a mule bar or whatever, and brought all these people together. And it just became apparent that folks were like really proud of this drinkware that their friends built,
Hmm.
that artisan style product, and they were hosting around them. So like quite literally, at the simplest level, like our mugs were just bringing people together. And it's like,
Hmm.
well, that aligns exquisitely with like my thoughts on kind of technology and how plugged in we are. And I believe wholeheartedly that we need to very, very deliberately like unplug and disconnect from the internet and technology and connect with each other and spend time together. And so it became very, very simple that that's the concept we were going to lean into with our brand,
Yeah.
and kind of using our mugs to promote that very thing, like slowing down and spending time together and sharing stories. Um, I
That's
think our
cool.
our whole human timeline of like evolution and everything, like the story is everything. Like it's always been passed on and passed on and passed on.
Hmm.
And whenever you're sitting around with your friends around the campfire, like that's what you're doing. You're just recounting old funny memories or whatever, and everybody's laughing, and it's just all about the story.
Yeah, I
Um,
like that.
I was kind of thinking about working together with you on this, and that's the main thing I kind of thought that we have in common is like look at what you're doing with a tattoo. I can only imagine a very high percentage of folks that come to you with a design in mind, and work through what I would imagine is ends up being like a process, right? Like
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
that design down and letting
Hmm.
it evolve into what it's eventually going to live as forever.
Right.
Um, I would imagine that's probably most often like rooted pretty deeply in some story or some memory or an honor of someone.
Yeah.
Um, have you spent much time thinking about kind of that?
Oh yes, I could nerd out about this one for sure. Like when you were saying that whole story, I was like, God, that's how I feel. Um, so in college when I was studying all these like old tattoos, I found like the history of Japanese tattooing is so beautiful to me. Tattoos in general, I feel like that's the highest honor you could bestow on a drawing or like any piece of art. Like for you to make a piece that you really love and hang it in a gallery, I feel like that's not like nice to the painting. So I feel like if I can give my drawings a life and a death and like make them empowering to a person, that's dope. And then on the other hand, we have what I learned about Japanese tattoos, which is like the way that they were used in society has been from every single angle, basically. They've been on emperors, they've been on slaves, they've been on people exiled, they've been on like the most honorable warriors. And they have like such a vast history there. And I really appreciate that you have to appreciate the entirety of it and like the entirety of everything that they've meant. So it's like, you choose to wear this, and you are just one pinpoint on the timeline of everyone who's worn a traditional Japanese tattoo. It's like at one point this would have meant you're an emperor. At another point this would have meant that you can't come into town. Like, and I feel like to respect both of those things equally and to like understand that you're just, I don't know, by wearing it you're changing what they mean in society by like how you carry yourself and how you hold yourself. I feel like that's super powerful to be a part of that long history, that huge timeline. I feel a part of those stories by having them physically permanently on my body. I feel like it's so deep. But like I don't know
Well,
if
it turns it
um
from turns it very instantly from or not instantly, actually the opposite over time. Instead of this like this logo or this design, or this picture, it's a living thing that has meaning, and the
mhm,
meaning changes, and it lives and dies with
yeah.
society and grows and evolves with society, and
Yeah.
that's cool.
Mhm. Take it with you wherever you go. I love them as an art and I love what they've meant to people throughout the ages. I feel like it's super cool to look at like what's happening on the tattoo world today is that everybody wants them like custom and unique and like, their own vision, their own design and stuff, but like even 20, 30 years ago, it was all just like Sailor Jerry stuff, which is so dope, but they're very like the same drawing over and over and over and over and over again. So I feel like that is even a change in the field that I love to see and that I feel perfectly like built for. So I'm so excited. It's like I love the planning part, the the conceptualizing where we like talk about the design and turn a feeling into a wearable piece of art. I feel like a lot of people want them to be very specific, but I encourage a little bit of abstraction with the message, like with the message, I would say. So that's really my bread and butter is like planning with a person to bring their vision into life in a piece that they could like wear for their entire life. I feel like that's different than just choosing a drawing that you like. I want to make it something that empowers them throughout their life. I also try to make sure that
Yeah.
they're all like meaningful in a positive way. I don't really like to do any ones that like would be a reminder of a bad omen, you know? I
Mhm.
believe in the absolutes and like that you gotta put a positive message, make it in like encouraging.
It's cool to think then like I'm just listening. I don't have any tattoos. There was probably a period of time in my life where if I would have had something um, meaningful enough, or maybe even I did, but I just like if I would have followed through with a person like yourself who could kind of develop those thoughts and get something down that I would live in for the rest of my life.
Hmm.
Um, there was a window where I would have if those things were all in line. Um, but I've lived through that window now, and
Hmm.
I'm a almost 40-year-old dad of four, and like I just got a lot of other shit to worry about. So I'll probably die tattooless. Who knows? Maybe
I
not.
won't hold
But
it against you. I really, I don't mind.
no, I love tattoos. And as somewhat of an artist's mind myself, like I in college I designed and drew a couple tattoos for guys like in our dorms that got them. And so I love like the sentiment behind it. I just never ended up with one. But I guess you said something that made me think of kind of there's probably some beauty in also like so you're kind of applying a very personal aspect to this process. You know, you said it was your bread and butter, so like that's kind of that human thing that you knew
Yes.
you wanted to work with humans. And it's pretty cool that once you get something designed and it gets to the point where it's on somebody's body. I can only imagine like there's different seasons. Like that's just the beginning, right? Like as a human matures and grows and like reflects, there's probably a lot of there's like an evolution of that tattoo and what it means to them as well. You know, if you get a tattoo at 23 after some potentially life changing positive event, when you're 45, like that thing might have undergone many different meanings to you, and it might mean something wildly different. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
That's why I got all traditional images. I'm like, I know these ones have held up for hundreds of years. So sweat
Yeah,
off my back that I'm not gonna like change my mind one day. Because I was that
nice.
person. I was worried. I was like, I don't even know if I could make a decision like that. But I was like, you know, been getting koi fishes. They make great tattoos. They last a long time. A lot of people have them and like them. So I was like, I like it.
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
That's right. Yeah.
Nice. Man, so listening to you talk about like that process with a client, um, it's like there's like a lot of lines that can be drawn. I feel like you're basically being a psychologist,
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
you're doing psychology type work. It's just maybe in a more positive light. Like so, you're
Mhm.
kind of still on the same path that you set off to be on. Just you
Yes.
just tailored it to your wishes.
My intersection. That's my intersection right there. I call it visual translation.
I like it.
I
Nice.
love tattooing.